There we go. There we go. Welcome everybody to the Vagina Dialogues. Thanks for jumping on this live masterclass on all things vagina, vulva, bladder health, pelvic floor. We're going to do our best to give you an overview of how you can prioritize your health in all of these areas. I've got time at the end for Q&A. I want you to know that if you can't stay for the whole time, that I am recording it. And so I can send you a copy of the recording. You are welcome to post any questions that you have in the chat. And you're also always welcome to message me directly via the Menopause Chicks Facebook group, or you can email me at shirley@menopausechicks.com. So let's get started. Thank you so much for coming to the Vagina Dialogues. This is a topic area that I have become extremely passionate about the last few years. And the reason for that is because of the comments and the questions that members like you continue to bring to the Menopause Chicks community. It helped to up my learning as well as to make sure that we can continue to address and deliver content that you want to hear. So today is going to be about vulva and vaginal health. And I am working really hard because I am a stickler for words to use both of these words. We're talking about internal and external. And the North American Menopause Society calls this, sorry, I just gotta make sure that I get everybody through the waiting room who wants to join us. Welcome everyone. We're just getting started. Today is all about vulva and vaginal health. The North American Menopause Society coined a phrase a few years ago called genitourinary syndrome of menopause, or GSM. I don't use that term, and here's why. I don't believe that we should ever use syndrome and menopause in the same sentence. And secondly, I don't know anybody. I don't have any friends. I don't know anybody in the Menopause Chicks community who goes to their doctor's office or talks to a health team member and says, I think I'm experiencing GSM. It's just not what we do. It's hard enough to get many women to talk about, not you, because you're here today, but it's really hard sometimes to get women to even talk about vulva and vaginal health. So I believe that we should use the words, the right words, and that will help us to get the healthcare that we need and that we deserve. Oh, I think we've got somebody with their mic on. Let me just see if I can mute you. I think that worked. Thank you. Okay, so yesterday, one of my colleagues who I follow, she said, I'm tired of using fruit as images for vaginas and vagina health. And I kind of agree. So I went directly to the vulva puppet. And here are 3 examples. These are all made by a woman named Dory Lane. I wanted to mention her name, but of course, it is hard to get a picture of a vagina because the vagina is on the inside. So what you're looking at are examples of the vulva puppet. My friend Kim, the vagina coach, uses a vulva puppet. If you go to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist, you will also probably meet their vulva puppet. I need to get one of my own. I think these are absolutely beautiful works of art. So let's start with vaginal dryness. Oh, sorry, this is the agenda for today. Vaginal dryness. Then we're going to talk about moisturizers versus lubricants. And yes, I want you to use both. I'm going to touch on incontinence, i.e. the prevention of incontinence. And this is where I want to get started. I always like to start with the word why. Why is it important for us to prioritize vulva and vaginal health? Well, we need to sit comfortably. We need to move comfortably. We need to go to yoga comfortably. We need to feel confident and amazing in our bodies. Yes, we need to have comfortable, penetrative sex. We also need to wear jeans and pants and clothing comfortably. And this is really important. We need to avoid UTIs, that's urinary tract infections, and avoid incontinence and pelvic organ prolapse. Now, this was never explained to me in the early days. I did assume, like many other people, that vaginal dryness mostly had to do with sex. It does have a lot to do with our sexual health, but certainly, and as you can see from this circle, it has a lot to do with other parts of our health. And as our body reaches menopause, estrogen goes for a deep decline. So that would be, when you're in perimenopause, estrogen is high. Generally speaking, progesterone can be low. But when we reach that 12-month anniversary of our last period, AKA menopause, estrogen can go for a deep decline. And the media and the medical community, they're all talking about hot flashes, but the reality is that decline in estrogen can have a significant impact on our entire health. Estrogen is our juicy hormone. And so it's responsible for keeping our eyes moist and our mouth moist. And it's responsible for keeping our joints lubricated. And it's responsible for keeping our vagina moist and healthy. And when that goes away, it can result in some debilitating or very uncomfortable experiences for women. So that's the answer to why. And I don't know if you can see it. I've got my talking head covering this up right now on my screen, but I've just added the words brain health with an arrow to the move. And I really want to drive this home for us, or take this message today. And I hope that you will go and talk to 3 or 30 women that you love. Maybe you have a mother or a grandmother or an older sister. What's the first thing that we do when we are experiencing discomfort, whether it's, vulva, vaginal, leaking pee? We stop moving. We tend to stop exercising. And when we stop exercising, that has a significant impact on our current mental health and our future brain health. So that's another big why for why we're talking about vaginal health and prioritizing it right now. Okay. Vulva and vaginal dryness. So why does it occur? Well, I talked a little bit about the decline in estrogen that happens at menopause, but these are the other reasons. Hyaluronic acid is a naturally occurring molecule that our body makes on its own. And it starts to decline in our 30s and in our 40s, about 10% per decade. And when we reach menopause, it also goes for a steep decline. So hyaluronic acid and estrogen are going to stop being produced by our body the way it used to make it, in the quantities that it used to make it in, after menopause. And if you pay attention to any of the beauty products in the cosmetics industry, you've probably already heard of the term hyaluronic acid. That decline can lead to vulva and vaginal dryness. We have fluctuating hormones in perimenopause. So perimenopause is can sometimes look like a bit of a roller coaster as far as our hormones are concerned. That can lead to vulva and vaginal dryness. Decline in estrogen post-menopause, which I mentioned earlier. Postpartum. If you know anyone who's just had a baby, they may be experiencing dryness and not know why. So you can bring that to their attention and know that it is probably the result of fluctuating hormones. This next one was a huge awareness building, I guess, for me, and that was the birth control pill. So what does the birth control pill do? Well, it actually impacts and changes our natural hormone structure. And so it's kind of ironic, but the birth control pill can lead to vaginal dryness. And women who are taking the pill might not know why or what's happening. They might think that they're alone. They might think that they're the only one. So it's really important that we raise awareness around this. Women who are going through cancer treatments and breast cancer treatments may be experiencing vaginal dryness. Other medications and other health conditions may also impact the health, the quality of health of the vulva and the vagina. And then this was another big eye opener for me. A lot of women and girls are overusing panty liners or absorbent pads. Now that might be out of necessity, but sometimes it's not. And that overuse of absorbent pads can draw moisture out of the skin of the vulva and the vagina and lead to dryness. Okay, so that's maybe the bad news. This is the good news. Vulva and vaginal dryness can be prevented and it can be treated. So I'm using this list and I've put a P and a T beside each of the topics that I want to go over with you today. I start with have lots of sex and lots of orgasms. Now, the reason that that is a P is because it's a preventative strategy. You may have heard of the phrase use it or lose it. Well, I don't really like to use that because it's not about using something so you don't lose it. It's really about keeping your pelvic floor as healthy as possible for all of your days. And we are the first generation of women to turn 50 and have 50 more years to plan for. So if you are on this call today, listening in, or if you're talking to other women that you love and they're not yet experiencing vulva and vaginal dryness, this is one of the ways that they can prevent it. Have lots of orgasms. Another key way to prevent, but also to treat vulva and vaginal dryness is regular pelvic floor exercise and to see and work with a pelvic floor physiotherapist and to do that as early as possible. It's never too early, but it's never too late either. So it's both a preventative strategy and a treatment strategy. Moisturizing with hyaluronic acid. So you remember that was the first item on our last slide. This is something, so in the cosmetic industry, started using hyaluronic acid in 2008. And in 2013, it was actually studied that hyaluronic acid was just as effective at preventing and treating, so it's a P and a T, vulva and vaginal dryness as localized estrogen therapy, which I'm going to talk about in point number 5. And that had been the only treatment for quite some time. Oh, and I need to stop here and just share with you that 80% of women post-menopause will experience vaginal dryness as a result of lack of hyaluronic acid, lack of estrogen. But here's the statistic that I really want you to know why I'm so passionate about sharing this information. Less than 4% of women are currently receiving treatment. That means there are a lot of women, my mother was one of them, who suffered in silence and unnecessarily. So put a hand on your shoulder right now and give yourself a pat on the back for showing up and for making your health a priority today. It's really important. So point number 4 for preventing and or treating vaginal dryness is hormone therapy. Now, many women take hormone therapy systemically. So I started hormone therapy, for example, at age 48. I reached menopause at age 49, and I'm turning 55 this weekend. So when I started hormone therapy, vaginal dryness was not on my list of concerns. I was more interested in dealing with my sleep and my mood and my brain fog. But the protocol that my naturopath put me on did serve a purpose. And one of those purposes was the prevention of vaginal dryness. Now that I'm 6 years post-menopause, I need to make sure that I continue a regimen and a protocol so that I never have to deal with vaginal dryness or vaginal atrophy. Number 5 is localized estrogen therapy. So that's a form of hormone therapy. Hormone therapy is like the umbrella term. Many of us might take estriadol or progesterone orally or transdermally by rubbing it on our skin. But the one effective way to treat vaginal dryness is to apply it locally, directly to the vagina. Doesn't pass through the liver, doesn't enter the bloodstream. It just works on that one focused challenge that you may be having. And that's really important. Well, there's a few things that are really important to know about localized estrogen therapy. One is it can take a few months to show results. And I was really surprised to hear that most doctors don't explain that to their patients. It can take 3 to 4 months for localized estrogen therapy to really show an improvement. Now, that makes sense if, let's say, you're 6 years away from menopause, like I am right now. So I've been a long time without that estrogen. If it's somebody who hasn't been on hormone therapy, it's going to take a while. The other thing about localized estrogen therapy, and I had to learn this the hard way working with a member this past summer. She was texting me and she, it was the middle of a pandemic and she wanted to book an appointment with her doctor and the doctor was only doing online appointments. And so she had her telehealth appointment, explained the situation. And I think it was can't remember if it was a nurse practitioner or a doctor. And a doctor said, well, we can't prescribe anything until we see and verify that that is your condition. And it was almost like, she had to prove that she was experiencing vaginal dryness, which is frustrating in a completely separate webinar. So I won't go off on a tangent on that, but it's a reminder for you today that you can't get a prescription for something for a condition that doesn't exist yet. That makes sense? So localized estrogen therapy only has a T beside it. It's a treatment option. But if you aren't experiencing it yet, or maybe have only seen a couple of signs and maybe, you're within 5 years of menopause, it's a great reminder. It's a sign from your body that it might want something soon. And so it's a chance for you to look at all the P's on this list and decide how you are going to prevent vaginal dryness and vaginal atrophy. The next point I want to share with you is that there's so many options, as I've outlined on this screen. One of them is not suffering in silence. One of them is not giving up. And I really hope that you'll hear me when I say that. I talk a lot about moisturizing your vagina, using localized estrogen, if that's in the cards for you. But there are still other options if it's been a long time or that simply isn't working for you, because we have to remember that all of us are at different ages and stages, which means we're at different ages and stages of dryness, and not one single magic wand exists here, but you have to get informed and choose the journey that's right for you. So number 6 is red light therapy at home. And I have an example for you here. This is from a product from Joylux. You can go to joylux.com. This is called the VS Sculpt, or the V Sculpt, sorry. And it's like a vibrator, but it's actually a wand. I'm just going to put this closer to the camera. These are red lights. So this is red light therapy, and you can read up on the V Sculpt at joylux.com, but this is an at-home option that's available to us, and it works to restore the tissue inside of the vagina and really help repair the muscle as well. So it's a great tool, both preventatively and, I should add a P there, preventatively and as a treatment option for prioritizing your pelvic health and keeping that at the top of the list. And finally is laser by a physician. So there are laser therapy options with a gynecologist. The brand name for this would be the Mona Lisa Touch. And I actually have a video that I can include when I send you the replay of this with a gynecologist at the University of Toronto, who is a licensee for the Mona Lisa Touch, and he explains what the process is. So all of that said, I just want you to know that there are options, and one of them is not suffering. I put these two in blue because I really hope that starting today, you will make sure that these three things are on your to-do list. Please go book an appointment with a pelvic floor physiotherapist. There's lots of sex to be had, sometimes even with a partner, but it doesn't mean you must be having sexual activity with a partner. Just take care of yourself and do it for your health. And then moisturize with hyaluronic acid. So if you're a member of the Menopause Chicks community, you might be familiar with this product. It's a vaginal moisturizer that's compounded at Pure Pharmacy. How this product came to be is because of the women in the Menopause Chicks community who spoke up. And I'll talk about that a little bit more, but it's probably one of the things I'm most proud about is that this was a product that was created by a community of women who got very vocal about not having options available to them that were working for them. The other thing that I hope you will do is consider working with the Vagina Coach. Now, the Vagina Coach is a pelvic floor expert. She is not a pelvic floor physio, so she's going to tell you to go see a pelvic floor physiotherapist, just as I did. But this is Kim Votney. She wrote the pelvic floor health chapter in my book. She is an amazing advocate for women's pelvic health, and she has a new app, so you can get that app. It's called the Buff Muff app at vaginacoach.com. She'll teach you how to do Kegels properly. She can work with you through her many programs or one-on-one. It's just a really great way for us to start incorporating this type of exercise into a regular routine. Oh yeah, she has some great social media channels too. So there's Kim with her vulva puppet teaching us how to sign with her vulva puppet. Okay, I want to move on, carrying on the theme of moisturizers versus lubricants. This is a common question that I get. Some physicians, some hearsay, some women are being told to just use a lubricant or just use coconut oil if they're experiencing vulva and vaginal dryness. And yeah, I have a lot to say about that, but I want you to know that there is a key difference between moisturizers and lubricants, and I want you to use both. So this is a picture of my drugstore aisle, and I know that this can be super overwhelming when you go to the shelf and there's sale signs facing you, and there's really great copywriters who have created this amazing packaging, and you look at it and it might say moisturizer and lubricant. It might say moisturizer or lubricant. You really don't know what to buy. You might not want to spend a lot of time in that aisle, quite frankly, and it can just be overwhelming. So I'm going to explain the difference between moisturizer and lubricant in the most simplest of forms. A moisturizer is an investment in your health. You apply it away from sexual activity, just like you would moisturize your face, your hands, your elbows, or your feet. A lubricant is for pleasure and fun. A lubricant provides a barrier to friction. That's it. There are no long-term benefits in using a lubricant. It is merely a barrier to friction. So coconut oil, for example, by the way, food oils have never been studied, but I know a lot of women do use coconut oil. That's a lubricant. It might be okay for the moment that you apply it. but it's not doing any long-term investment in the health of your vulva and vaginal wall. So the hyaluronic acid vaginal moisturizer that I was just sharing with you, it only has 2 ingredients. It has hyaluronic acid, which your body used to make on its own, and it has a little bit of vitamin E. These other products on the drugstore shelf that can be confusing and overwhelming, I invite women to always turn the box around. So this one, says that it's a moisturizer and a lubricant. When I turn the box around, I'm just going to jump ahead through here, read the ingredients. And like when you're reading a food ingredient list, the first item listed is what it contains the most of. So in this case, the product mostly contains water, and then aqua, which is also more water, and then glycerin, which is a derivative of sugar, which can lead to yeast. And other ingredients that you might see here are things like wax, or any word that you can't pronounce is probably an additive or a preservative for extending the shelf life of that product. None of those products are in the Pure Pharmacy vaginal moisturizer made with hyaluronic acid. So if you're interested in extending your investment, like from a financial perspective, it's actually better to use the hyaluronic acid vaginal moisturizer than to spend your money on, frankly, something that contains mostly water. The other thing that I wanted to share with you about vaginal moisturizers is this is a webinar from the International Society of Gynecologists from May 2021. I have the pleasure of attending their educational webinars, and this is Dr. Petra Stute, who is the researcher who discovered in 2013 that hyaluronic acid is as effective at preventing and treating vaginal dryness as localized estrogen therapy. So that was 2013. Fast forward to 2021, the International Society of Gynecologists actually recommended on this day to all of their members to use vaginal moisturizers with hyaluronic acid as the first line of defense. And so I think that's very encouraging, gives women more options that are available to them, that are readily available. You don't need a prescription. You don't need to see your doctor. And, some of the, let's see. You don't need to see a doctor, and some of the reviews that we get, if you go to purepharmacy.com/menopause and click on the vaginal moisturizer, you'll see some of the reviews. I think I have a couple to share with you today as well. This is simply a website that I'm very proud of because my 18-year-old daughter put it together for me this past summer. She worked for me as an intern. It's called moisturizeyourvagina.com. Its sole purpose is to answer all of your questions. So if you have any more questions after today, of course, you can ask them in the chat. You can message me, or you can go to moisturizeyourvagina.com, and each question has a video attached to it as well. Oh, yes. So here are some of the testimonials. These are some of the ones from the early days, actually, which was so heartwarming to hear from members of our community that we had actually found something that improved the quality of their life. And these are some of the reviews that were written on the actual Pure Pharmacy website too. I like the overwhelming relief and joy one, but I like the one in the middle too, because it comes from a pelvic floor physiotherapist who is recommending the vaginal moisturizer to all of her clients. So that's something for you to consider. And this section, as I mentioned, is on moisturizers and lubricants. So I want to jump to lubricants and share with you some more of my fascinating learning. I was so surprised to find out that lubricants, first of all, can change the pH of the vagina, which is normally around 4.5. Lubricant manufacturers are not required to list their pH level on their packaging. They are not required to list the osmolality. And some of the biggest culprits I learned in actually lubricants that can change the pH of your vagina are the products that have the big marketing budgets. So it might be a brand name that you've maybe trusted for years or decades, and then you find out, ooh, maybe not so much. And anything that promises you a warm, tingling sensation, stay clear of, because it's actually going to change the pH of your vagina. I use Good Clean Love, and I just like that. I know they've done the work. I know that the pH is 4.5, and it's great, and it's easy to use, and it's just a really nice experience. So I wanted to share that with you as well. It's beside the moisturizer at purepharmacy.com/menopause-chicks. And I want to now just jump. Okay, so we're at 12:30. I want to leave some time for some Q&A. I want to jump to incontinence, because this is another important element of prioritizing our pelvic health and our vagina and vulva health. But not everyone always gets the connection. I know I didn't get it in the early days either. So what's the connection to preventing incontinence? Well, first of all, I just want to start by painting you a picture of what's happening right now in the boardrooms of all companies that make incontinence pads. They are projecting that the incontinence pad industry will be $16 billion by 2025. That's not that far away. That 58% of all nursing home residents will use disposable incontinence pads, and more females will require incontinence protection than males. If you do the pad math, adds up to that is approximately $1,300 a year. And if you start leaking urine in your 40s or 50s, let's say you're buying those pads for 40 years, well, if you can prevent it from happening, you're going to save about $52,000. And that's really important. I thought I'd put in another screen from a webinar that I attended just a couple of weeks ago from the same organization, the International Society of Gynecologists, really providing top education to their physician members. So if you can't get to watch the webinar, your doctor can. But what's really important is that if you're prioritizing estrogen therapy for the vagina, if you're using hyaluronic acid, what you're doing is you're keeping the pelvic floor healthy. And that means that you have less of a chance of developing a UTI, which can become quite chronic with women who have gone 4 years without that same level of estrogen. And it helps to prevent incontinence. And by keeping the pelvic floor healthy, you're also helping to prevent pelvic organ prolapse. So those are things that, definitely when you book your appointment with your pelvic floor physiotherapist, you're going to want to talk about whether or not it's a concern that you have right now. It definitely should be something that you are concerned about preventing. So that's what I wanted to say about incontinence. I also wanted to give you a code. If you're interested in ordering the vaginal moisturizer today, you can use MChicks10 to save 10% at purepharmacy.com/menopause-chicks. And then I wanted to close this down, come to the chat and find out if you have any questions. These are some of the questions that I get. What about coconut oil? We touched upon that a little bit. Can I use localized estrogen therapy and hyaluronic acid at the same time? The answer is absolutely yes. You can go to the reviews and you'll see that a lot of our members are in fact doing that. I suggest that you apply them at separate times of the day, like maybe one in the morning and the other one at night, or every other day. There's no cause for there to be any interaction. I just want both products to work as best they can for you. Bigger questions. Why hasn't my doctor mentioned this? Well, if you're going to talk to your doctor about vaginal health, I highly recommend that you book a separate appointment for it. So many stories I hear, women will tag it on to the end of maybe their pap smear or another health concern that they're going to see their doctor for. And then the doctor doesn't have time to go through. I mean, what have we been? About 35 minutes right now. And most doctor's appointments are, 10 to 12 minutes. So that's probably one of the reasons. The other reason is that there's a hesitation. There's a big communication gap in our society. Women don't want to bring it up because they think they're the only one, that they must be something that they have to solve on their own. Doctors don't like bringing it up with women. They don't feel like prying. But I would say most of the time it's because they don't have the time for the education, and they're kind of there just seeing if you don't bring it up, it must not be an issue. But we know it is an issue. 80% of women, less than 4% are getting treatment. So we've got to do more advocating and more education outside of the doctor's office. What about breast cancer? So a lot of breast cancer patients are using the hyaluronic acid because it's giving them relief right now. And then depending whether or not they pursue hormone therapy or don't, this is an alternative because it's a hormone-free option. So that's important. Oh, help me talk to my mother, daughter about this. Yeah, I really want you to talk to the woman that you love. I want you to talk to your daughters. Maybe they're on the birth control pill. Maybe they don't know that vaginal dryness is a thing. I want you to talk to your mother, your grandmother. We had one member during the pandemic share a story with us about her grandmother who during the pandemic, her form of exercise was to go line dancing, and then grandma stopped going to line dancing and they couldn't figure out why. And so a little bit of peeling back the layers of the onion, grandma shared that her clothes had started to be really, really uncomfortable because of her vaginal atrophy. And so the granddaughter got her the vaginal moisturizer, and within a couple of weeks, she was back going to line dancing. And so I'm really proud of that. I sometimes can't fathom how many women we have in seniors' homes and communities who might be suffering in silence. So if you have the chance to crack open the conversation and just explain that you went to this webinar with Menopause Chicks and you learned all that you need to know about vaginal dryness, and that it's not about sex. It's really about sitting and moving comfortably. We also have a lot of women who deal with chronic urinary tract infections. So if we can help turn that ship around, that would be great. This last question, will I have to moisturize forever? Well, nobody asks that about moisturizing your hands or your face. And so the answer is yes, you do. If you want to prioritize your vulva and vaginal health, it is really important to put it at the top of the to-do list. So I'm going to close this down now. I want to see if we have any questions in the chat. And if you have to step away, I just really want to say thank you for jumping on here today. Thank you for being a part of the Menopause Chicks community. And if you have any questions, do reach out to me. Yeah, and so let's do a couple of questions here. Hi, Janice from Kamloops. I'm so glad that you're here. This next question is about, I'm having dryness issues and discomfort during sex, even when using lube. Yeah, so hopefully I tried to explain this for you, but the lube is not going to repair the tissue in the vaginal wall. Only hyaluronic acid can do that or estrogen. Those are the two things that you're potentially missing. So hyaluronic acid is like this super strong molecule. It can carry 1,000 times its weight in moisture. So by applying, and I don't think I did an example, it's just like a gel, right? And this is one pump. And we recommend 2, but you can use it as liberally as you want to. By applying this gel to the vulva and internally with the vagina, it's going to work to restore natural moisture back into the cells of the vulva and vaginal wall. And what that means is that if you're experiencing dryness now, you can use it once a day. You can use it twice a day. I have some women who are using it 3 times a day. Just gotta wipe off my finger here. Eventually, because you're restoring natural moisture back into the skin cells, you will be able to move, like taper back to once a day or every other day. And so that's taking care of the health of the vagina, and then continue to use lubricant for sexual activity, for pleasure and fun, because that will continue to provide that barrier to friction. So hopefully that helps. If it doesn't, reach out to me. I not only experience dryness, but itching and rectal bleeding. Will the vaginal moisturizer help with this, or is hormone therapy better? The answer is yes, both. But the first thing you need to do is to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist to make sure that you can have a full assessment. There could be prolapse, there could be root causes that I wouldn't be able to ascertain just in today's discussion. Working with a pelvic floor physiotherapist is going to give you so much insight, and they can also guide you too in terms of how to have this conversation with your doctor, because they will have kind of a full picture, if you will. It's so bad doing some activities I can't even focus because of the constant itch and uncontrollable feeling. I'm so sorry that you're experiencing this. And yeah, I mean, it's not something that works like a magic wand. So if you did try the moisturizer for a couple of months, as you've indicated, and didn't quite notice an improvement, I would still continue with it, because my guess is your body's not making enough anymore. But work with a pelvic floor physio, talk to your doctor about the benefits of hormone therapy. If you have any questions about how to prepare for either of those appointments, reach out to me, send me a message, and we will get you prepared, the list of questions, narrow down your menu of options. That's what I love to do. I love to play concierge and to get, create the shortest distance between 2 points for you, because you deserve to feel amazing. Okay, I tried the Good Clean Love lubricant and it stung so bad. Any suggestions? I would get curious as to what was causing the stinging. I don't know whether it's because of dryness or a bacterial infection. There would have to be a reason, or maybe it's an allergy. I mean, I would talk to your pharmacist and or your doctor about any of those 3 things not working for you before you shop for a whole bunch of other lubricants that, I mean, they basically will have similar ingredients. It's just that some lubricants are going to have more ingredients than others. So that's why I stick with this one. But if that doesn't work for you, I would get curious. Is it the lubricant, or is it another underlying cause? If a person uses the pure vaginal moisturizer once a day, 2 pumps, which is what I'm assuming, how long would it last? Okay, well, that's a great question. So it's not a prescription, but it does say on the packaging recommended 2 pumps, which is 1 gram. So we have 3 sizes: 30 grams, 60 grams, 90 grams. If you're using 1 gram a day, so you're not maybe in a severe case and using 2 or 3 times a day, if you're using 1 gram per day, then 30 grams is going to last you 30 days. If you've been using it for a while and you've actually been able to taper back and you only need to moisturize every other day, then 30 grams would last you 60 days or 2 months. So that's why we have the 3 sizes. There's significant savings when you order the 60 grams or the 90 grams. So that might be something to consider as well. And hopefully that answered your question. I started Vagifem. So everybody, Vagifem is a brand name for localized estrogen therapy. It's a prescription product from your doctor. I started Vagifem, but after 5 days noticed yeast infection, which is a side effect of using this. Interesting. I was supposed to use it every day for 2 weeks, but stopped and now just starting to use again. I mean, the obvious question is, I hope you treated the yeast infection. And was that a coincidence or was there an interaction? My suggestion would be if you can't talk to your doctor, I know that, I mean, that can sometimes be challenging in the times that we're in. If you can't talk to your doctor, or even if you can, my best suggestion is to have a conversation with your pharmacist. Pharmacists are amazing, and you don't need to book an appointment, but they're amazing at identifying not just potential side effects, but also interactions between either 2 products that you might bring to their attention or other prescription drugs that you might be on, or another health condition that you have, or even something else that might be going on in your body. So that is hopefully a great suggestion for you, because you deserve to feel amazing, and you also deserve to use these products that are available to you without the side effect of having a yeast infection, which could be the root cause of many, many things. Okay, wow, this is so much fun to go through your questions. I know that 77% of women have questions about their midlife health. And so the mission of Menopause Chicks is to help you navigate perimenopause to menopause and beyond with more confidence and ease. And I'm going to be doing that through a series of monthly masterclasses. The next one is on February 15th. The URL to join is really easy. It's I Feel Amazing. So it's I-feel-amazing.com. It's going to be a jam-packed session, but my goal is to give you all of the information that you need about your hormone health. We're going to talk extensively about the hormone balance pyramid. We'll talk a little bit about vaginal health, but we're going to dive into sleep and all of your other health concerns, and also talk a lot about investing in our longer term health. So our heart health, our bone health, our brain health, our vaginal health, our incontinence, preventing incontinence strategy. So I hope you'll join me February 15th. It's a Tuesday. It's my birthday this month, as I mentioned. So I put together over $55 in bonuses, and I hope you'll go there and sign up right now. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Monday today for joining me. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you, and know that you can ask your questions directly if you have any. Okay. Oh, and I do have one more question. If you're still having periods, can you use the moisturizer during period days? 100%. Yes. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. I wish you continued health.